Hi everyone, I hope you all have had an awesome day today. My name is Parth Shah, and I'm a technical analyst as well as a business analyst at Socius One Consulting. I've acquired a Suite Foundation certification, and I'm going to be speaking with you all about how to leverage workflows for approvals within NetSuite. Before you begin even really customizing or creating a workflow within NetSuite, the first thing you want to check to see is if you have enabled the approval routing feature for that specific transaction that you want to have approvals for. So how you check that is you go to Setup, Accounting, and you're going to scroll down to Accounting Preferences. And then once you are on the Accounting Preferences page, go to the Approval Routing subtab. Within the Approval Routing subtab, there are many different transactions that are listed, and check the ones where you want to apply a custom workflow for approvals. For this training, we want to have a custom workflow for purchase orders, so I've went ahead and checked that. And if you don't check these boxes, NetSuite will just leverage the out-of-box approval routing setup that it has. So if you check it, you have to create a custom workflow, and if you don't, you can leverage out-of-the-box functionality. So I'm going to go ahead, I've already checked purchase orders, and then just go ahead and click Save. And so now once we've done that, we're going to go to create an actual workflow. So you go to Customization, Workflow, Workflows, and New. This is the start of creating an actual workflow. So we're going to go through this page and define our criteria, names, record types, subtypes, and go through this. This is really the intro of creating a workflow. So let's get started. Name, where I'm just going to name mine something generic. I'm going to call it Socius 2017 Training Workflow. I'm not going to fill anything out for ID for my training today, but you're more than welcome to enter an ID if you would like to do so. Record type, since we are doing a purchase order, it is a type of transaction. So I'm going to select transaction here. And once that is populated, it's going to bring up different subtypes. And within these subtypes, I'm going to search for a purchase order. And if you want to select more than one subtype, you can. You would just hold down the control button and click the subtypes that you would need. Next, I'm going to check this execute as admin because we want to execute the workflow as an admin. And for release status, I'm going to switch it to testing. Now you have three different options: not running, the workflow won't run; released, it will release the workflow to everybody in your environment, and testing will just be on your environment. So I'm going to just leave it as testing because I just want it for my purposes. And then another key checkbox here is enable logging. I always recommend checking enable logging because it's the perfect tool to help you debug your workflow if anything goes wrong, or while you're creating one, if you need to test and see why something isn't working, it's the perfect tool for it. And then as we scroll down, initiation, I'm going to keep mine at event-based because we want the workflow to run every time a PO is created. NetSuite also offers the option to do a scheduled workflow, which you can have throughout different times of the day. For say you want the workflow to run every 45 minutes or an hour, then you would select the scheduled option. But for this training, we're not going to do so. And then as we go down for event definition, I'm going to select on create because we want the workflow, the approval workflow that we're creating, to run every time a PO is created. You can also select on view or update, but we're not going to do that for our training today. So once this is created, you go ahead and select save. And then it brings you to the ultimately brings you to this workflow workspace page where you can build out your workflow and define actions, conditions, states, really all the meat in the workflow. This is where it's going to get applied. Now to save some time today, I've already went ahead and created a generic just outline, which I will still walk through. But just to save some time, I've went ahead and created one that I'm going to walk through today with you guys. So let me pull that up. Give me 1 second. And here we are. So I've already created this purchase order basic approval workflow. So when I click edit, it's going to allow me to do a couple things. So for say I have in my workflow so far, I have initiation, pending approval, rejected, and approved. These are my 4 states. If I needed to add another state, I would click new state. And NetSuite makes this really easy to add and really delete or whatever you need to do with states. And you can drag and drop wherever, and I don't need it, but I just wanted to show you guys that that function is there. So I'm going to go ahead and delete these 2 states that I created, but that's how you would do it if you needed to do it on your end. Next, I'm going to double click on initiation. When you double click, it's going to open up the current state that you're in. So as you guys can see, I have already defined a couple of actions within my workflow. So there are different actions within NetSuite. As you guys see here, for initiation, I'm using set field value, set field display type, and again, I'm using set field value. So you can click on new action, and you guys can see all the different actions that NetSuite offers. If you wanted to add a button, you could do that through a workflow. If you wanted to go to a certain page after a user clicks on a certain button or things like that, you could just select go to page. You can lock the record so no one can mess with it. So workflows are really user friendly and they're really powerful and a very, very effective tool. So as I mentioned, so as you guys see here, here's set field value and set field display type. Those are the field actions that I'm using. And so set field value, it's pretty self-explanatory. What you're telling the workflow to do is set a field with a value that you are specifying. And then for set field display type, there's 4 options. There's hidden, there's disabled, there's inline, and there's normal. So when it's hidden, it's just not going to show on the form. When it's inline, it's going to be grayed out. You can't really mess with it. And disabled, same functionality, and normal is just going to be like your normal field. You can edit it, change it, kind of do whatever. So I'm not going to mess with this right now, but I wanted to give you guys a quick overview on what the specific actions that I'm working with do. So as you guys can see here, I have set field value workflow created by equals user, and I have set field value approval status equals pending approval. So now if I go to a purchase order, you will see that the set field value approval status will already equal pending approval, and the next approver field will be disabled as well as approval status will be disabled, meaning that I won't be able to mess with it by any means. So let's go to a purchase order and check to see if that functionality is working, which it should be. So I'm going to open it up right now. And it is. So if you guys go here, you see the pending or the approval status is pending approval and it's grayed out. I cannot change it. I can't mess with it. So I can't change what the approval status is or who my approver is, because you wouldn't want an end user just to go in and update whatever they want when they want. It has to go through the proper approval process that your company specifies. So now that we know that is working, I'm going to double click in here. And I'm going to go through how to set specific conditions. So I think this is where the meat is going to happen. This is where you can specify who the next approver is, and when you want it to go to a certain person or user. So I'm going to click right here, set field value. So I want to set the next approver field to be the current user, which would be me right now. And when I scroll to the top, you can create different conditions. So right now, I'm running on a scenario that, hey, I can create a purchase order and have it approved if it is less than or equal to $200. So I don't need to go to my manager if I buy something for less than 200 bucks. But if it's over $200, then I would need to do so. So I have two actions created. Here I've set field value 1 that is less than or equal to 200. It's saying that I can approve it myself. And if it's greater than or equal to 200, I want my colleague Chelsea Kessler to approve it. So let's see how this functionality works. So I'm going to click Save. even though I didn't adjust anything, just to be sure. So now when I go to this purchase order that I have running, I'm going to select a vendor, and I'm going to call it, I'm just going to use this one, a CEO solution, and next I'm going to change the location to Toronto, just because it's a required field, and the first one I create, I'm going to select an item that is less than $200, just so I can show you guys, hey, that when it's under 200, it automatically gets approved because I have the ability to purchase anything under $200. So now that I've done that, I'm going to click Save here. And awesome. So as you guys can see, I can receive on this purchase order. I can build a purchase order. So the functionality is working as we want it to right now. You guys can see the next approver here is Alex Wolf, which this is the user that I'm working under, and the approval status is approved. So let's go ahead and do another one. So let's make a copy and do a purchase order for greater than $200 workflow, or our second condition of when it's greater than $200 is functioning as well. So this should go to Chelsea Kessler. So I'm saving it right now. Awesome. So as you guys can see, it did not go to the automatic approval stage, and it went to pending approval, and our next approver is Chelsea Kessler. So I want to show you guys one other thing. A big factor in workflows is not only just the actions that you select here, but it's also going to be the transitions. So how did the workflow know to transition to the approved state when the total was less than or equal to 200? It's because we have specified here under transitions, you'd come and create a new transition, and you would specify the to state. So I want to go to approved. I would come over here to condition, and for condition, since I have it set to total is less than or equal to, so I do total less than or equal to 200, and I want this to happen when it's going to the approved. I want it to be automatically approved, so that's why you're doing the to state to approved when total is less than or equal to 200, and you would do the same thing, except you would go to pending approval when it's greater than 200, because you would want your manager or whomever is next in line to approve your purchase order. So I'm going to X out of this, and then we're going to go to the pending approval stage. So I will show you guys what's going on here now. So in pending approval, right now we have the workflow saying it would change the approval status to pending approval on entry, and then we're going to add two buttons, approve and reject, based off the fact if the next approver is the user. If the next approver is not the user, they will not see the approve and reject buttons. So because the next approver in this field is Chelsea Kessler, she will be the only one that can see the approve and reject buttons. So let's go ahead and check and see if Chelsea can see that. So I'm just going to do a quick login here. And our purchase order is 13516. So I'm going to go ahead and type that in, 13516. Alrighty, as this loads up. So as you guys can see here, because I am logged in now as Chelsea Kessler, and that's who the next approver is, she has the ability now to approve or reject my purchase order that I'd submitted. So I'm going to go ahead and do an example of an approve. So I'm going to go ahead and approve this PO. And now you guys are able to see that we can receive it, we can bill it, etc. So that approval process is now working. So important. And then now I'm going to go back to my account, and I want to show you guys just one other thing of the reject, and just show you that the PO can also be rejected upon, and it will not move further. And I'll show you in the workflow where that happens as well. So I'm going to go back to my account. going to go to customization, workflows, and this is going to show you a list of the workflows that you guys have, but we're just going to go back to the purchase order basic approval. And now once this loads, so if you guys remember, Chelsea approved it and it was in pending approval. And if you go to transitions, she clicked the approved button, and NetSuite has functionality where if you do add button, like we did in actions, we did add button approve, add button reject. And if you go to transitions, because we added those buttons, once that button is clicked, once approve is clicked, the workflow is going to transition to approved, and if the reject button is clicked, it's going to transition to the rejected state. So now let's just do let me create one more PO. I'm going to enter in one more PO that I want to go to Chelsea, and I'm going to hit the reject button. So I'm going to type in the same client. We're going to use a CO solution, location, Toronto. Sorry, I think that just linked up. We're going to go back. Yep, Toronto, and then let me just find an item that's going to be over $200, and I'll just select this one right here. I'm going to hit save. Awesome, so now you guys see it went back to Chelsea Kessler because our amount is over $200. So now let me go back to her account. And our purchase order was 13517. Just gonna click right here. I'm gonna type in 13517 in the global search, and that's going to bring up our PO. Alrighty, so as you guys can see, the approve and reject button showed up again. The status is still in pending approval, and we're gonna go ahead and reject it. And now once this is rejected, it will show up with an approval status here of rejected, as well as it's going to show up here as rejected. So now when it is rejected, I myself or the user I was logged in as Alex would go back in. I would have to make the changes I would need to based off whatever the manager has, and I would have to then resubmit it for approval, and it would go through the workflow process again, just like we had discussed. So again, just to kind of close things off, so we're going to go back to, I'll go back to my account real quick and just do a quick wrap up of how workflows work and just do a quick summary. So give me 1 second as I load that up. Alrighty, so customization, workflows, scroll down, I'm just going to do purchase order basic approval. Alrighty guys, so, and then the only other thing I want to mention is, so we've already gone over actions, so let me pull this up. So we've already gone over actions, and you select a new action, and you can select set field value, set display type. NetSuite has many. You can add a button. So I'd definitely play around these. Again, I mentioned that these are very powerful. They can do a lot. As for transitions, you're going to need the transitions to go to the different states that you guys have within your approval workflows. And the conditions are going to be key, as that's when it's going to transfer to a specific state. And lastly, if we go back to an approved record, we have locked the record. And what this ultimately does is I am not able to make any more changes because it's been approved, and we don't want a user just to come in and be able to make whatever changes they want without proper approval again. So you have the ability to lock the record, and that functionality is it is helpful. So that is a brief training over the approval workflow process, and there's a lot more that workflows could do, and I could definitely spend hours going over the process. So that is definitely a brief training over. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. My direct number is 513-334-0368, and my email is pshaw@socius1.com. I hope you guys enjoyed the training and and hope that you all are able to leverage workflows in a much better fashion after watching this. Have a good one, everyone.